this is James, and I'm here with the Oracle Outlook for the week starting March the 26th, 2018. This week I wanted to work with a playing card deck, so the deck that I've chosen to assist me for this week's reading is the Cartomancer Poker Deck. It is by Alain, Benoit, and I'm hoping I'm saying the name right because my French is très rusty. So again, that is the Cartomancer Poker Deck by Alain, Benoit. So I have the deck on hand. I'm going to take a few moments to shuffle the cards. And just as I do every week, I'm focusing on my usual intention and question, and that is, what do we need to know for the week ahead? So as I shuffle the cards, I just want to take a moment to thank those of you who had sent comments over the last few videos about my shuffling style. So I lovingly call my style of shuffling the Vegas shuffle. It's known as the rifle shuffle or riffle shuffle. I think it's one or the other. But I call it the Vegas shuffle. So for those of you who have noticed it and commented on it, thank you. Alright, so I'm feeling that's good. I'm going to go ahead now and cut the deck. Fan out the cards. And when I work with playing cards, I usually pick 5 cards, so I'm looking for 5 cards in the fan. 2 that are getting my attention. 3, 4, and 5. All right, so now I'm taking the remainder of the deck up and putting it to one side. All right, and now taking a look at the line, I always start with the middle card. For me, the middle card represents the central issue for the week ahead or something that we are being asked to focus on. So taking a look at the card, we have, okay, so here we have the Ace of Spades. So for me, spades can represent problems, difficulties. So we could be centering on a potential problem because I tend to look at aces as something that represents a potential for the future. So there could be a potential problem or a potential difficulty that may be getting our attention or something that we are being asked to focus on. For me, this particular card, the Ace of Spades, can represent the mind. And interesting, this card is called thinking, so it can represent the mind, and it can always come up when there's a decision that needs to be made. So there could be a situation, a problem, or difficulty in which we need to make some sort of decision, and so that is what is going to be getting our attention or something that we're going to be focusing on for the week ahead. So now I'm taking a look at the image because the beautiful thing about this particular deck is that every single card has some sort of symbol, imagery, or depiction on it. So I'm looking at the young man, and he's holding a watch on a chain, and so for me that's getting my attention. So for me there could be a matter of time, or there's an issue about timing in accordance with this decision that needs to be made, right? So there is that. It could also be too on a more spiritual level because I'm also noticing in the image that the young man has angel wings connected to him. So this could just be a matter of divine timing, or that somebody is spending time with their angels this week. So there's something about that, and that's a more spiritual idea with that. And keeping with that in mind, then the suit of spades can represent consciousness, right? So it could be saying too, like somebody is beginning to perceive things in their world differently because their consciousness is changing. Their consciousness, they're becoming more awake, they may be becoming more aware. The idea here is that somebody may be having, the thought that's coming to me is that somebody may be having some kind of spiritual awakening, right? And their mind is opening up as a result of that. You know, and so they may be receiving, you know, downloads of information in accordance to that. So that was a very unexpected message. I didn't expect that to come through. Typically for me, the Ace of Spades represents a potential problem, a potential difficulty, something having to do with the mind needing to make a decision. So that's how I would look at the Ace of Spades. So now the surrounding cards will give us more to go on with the Ace of Spades. So now starting with the card on the far left, we have, okay, no mistakes. Okay, so here we have the black joker because there's 2 jokers in this deck. There's one red one and one black one. So but here we have the black one. And interestingly enough, the key word on the card is consciousness. You can't make this stuff up. So that message that I talked about, somebody whose consciousness is opening up, they're becoming more awake, aware, alert. You know, they're starting to see, perceive things differently. They may be getting more in touch with the spiritual world, whatever that is for them. This card is confirming that. And I want to say, with the Joker is a wild card. So it could be somebody is labeling the experience as being wild, like that's a wild thing, right? Or that the situation that they're in is some surprise to them, because the Joker for me represents surprises, right? So this one, this particular Joker, the Black Joker, can represent like being in a situation, potential problem or difficulty, in which it seems like your world is getting a shakeup, right? Because this card can be like getting a shakeup. So for me, going with that, it could be like that person that I'm talking about is like, the idea here is like they're going through some sort of awakening. That's the best way I can put it. Ideas are just coming out of nowhere. They just seem to like out of the blue, all of a sudden, things like that. And my head is buzzing as I'm saying that, so that may be true for somebody. Like they're just getting they're having aha moments, epiphanies, flashes of insight, that kind of thing, but it's coming as a surprise. You know, and the other thing here that I want to say with that, somebody may be going through an awakening, but it may be as a result of some sort of traumatic event, right? Sometimes people open up spiritually, you know, as a result of some traumatic event or some sort of traumatic experience, right? So there is that. The only other thing that I want to offer with this particular card is that I'm noticing with the Joker, there looks like there's two, I want to say, for lack of a better word, knives or darts or something that are sticking out of his back. So for someone maybe going through a situation in which they feel they were stabbed in the back. So that could be, figuratively speaking, a sense of betrayal. You know, it's somebody dealing with that. And as a result of that, if that resonates with somebody, then the Ace of Spades would be about, like, you know, having to make a decision about that as a result, right? Basically, like, what are you going, now that you've had that experience, what are you going to do about it, right? So there is that, but I wanted to acknowledge that with the Joker. So again, my biggest takeaway with this is like somebody is, they're opening up in terms of their consciousness, they're becoming more awake, more alert, more aware, and that is coming as a surprise. And so you may continue to receive information that is either quite surprising or that is like out of the blue, a shock, flashes of insight, things of that nature. So I'm seeing that with the Black Joker. So now let's take a look at the card in between these two. Ooh, okay, and here we go. So here we have the Five of Spades. So now we have the Joker and two spades on the table. So again, spades for me represents problems or difficulties. So now this could be going with the mind, you know, again, thinking about something. The Five of Spades could be a change of mind. You know, change of mind, changing the way that we're thinking. You know, something has happened and it's giving us pause to kind of change the way that we have been thinking about it, right? So I'm seeing that first. The only other thing with the Five of Spades that I want to point out in the moment, and I'm going to go with the idea, like if somebody resonated with this idea that the Joker could represent, you know, this idea about betrayal or being stabbed in the back, however you want to look at that, then this card, as a result of that, the Five of Spades can represent a divorce, a separation kind of situation. And so it could just be a matter of you may be thinking about creating distance, separating from a person, and then you get to the Ace of Spades, and so you just actually make the decision to do it, right? So there is that to consider with this card as well. I'm looking at the card and seeing what else do I want to say about it. So for me, I'm just repeating myself, because as I repeat myself, sometimes ideas come in. So yes, a change of mind, a change of thinking, this idea about a divorce or a separation, yes, and so I'm glad I did that, because here's the other thing that could be coming in. Sometimes as a result of that separation, creating that sense of separation, it allows a person to stand on their own 2 feet, because sometimes for me this card can represent independence, this idea about standing on one's own 2 feet. So it could be saying too, like there's a problem or difficulty that you're going through, and as a result of it, that problem, that difficulty, that experience is creating or fostering a sense of independence. It's kind of forcing you in a way to stand on your own 2 feet. So I'm seeing that. Now I'm looking at the image, and I notice there is a man and a woman who look very close. So, but the interesting thing about the image for me is the butterfly wings behind the couple. So for me, the symbol of butterfly wings represents this idea about going through a situation that may be somewhat challenging, may be somewhat difficult, but it's also going to be something that's transformative, right? So it could be saying too, like somebody is working on changing their thinking, and as a result, they change their experience, right? You know, you transform your mind, transform your world. So that's the idea here with the Five of Spades that I want to offer. So now let's take a look at the cards on the other side of the Ace of Spades. So the first one is, okay. So here we have the Six of Hearts, right? So for someone in particular, hearts for me can represent feelings, emotions, relationships. So we could be working through this sense of emotional difficulty because it comes after a spade card, or this sense of emotional loss. And that would make sense with what I talked about with the Five of Spades being a divorce or separation kind of card, right? And this idea about standing on one's own 2 feet, right? So there is that to consider. Now, the Six of Hearts could be like if you have been in this situation which was difficult and you feel a sense of betrayal, you feel like you've been stabbed in the back by another person, then this card, Six of Hearts, is about talking about your feelings. If the situation can present itself, you know, if the opportunity to present itself for you to talk about how you feel, because the 6 is a number of communication, and then hearts would be about our feelings and emotions. So it could just be a matter of needing to have a conversation about how one feels. Excuse me. The other thing here with the 6 of Hearts for me, this is male energy. So it could be saying too that there is a man who is involved in that situation. Again, because this represents male energy, so it could be a brother, could be a male relative, could be a close male friend, you know, something of that nature. But this card for me represents male energy. So it could be, again, this need to have a conversation about how we feel, and it could be needing to have a conversation about how we feel with a man in particular, somebody that we have been close to. So the other thing here is, for me, this card is about when you're having that conversation with another person, right? You want to take ownership and responsibility for your feelings, right? I always talk about the conversation. If you feel like you need to have a difficult conversation, you want to own your feelings. I always talk about, instead of talking about the experience from a place of you did this and you did that, or you're not doing this and you're not doing that, and you're pointing your finger and you're blaming the other person, a reframe around that, or, you know, something to offer for your consideration to think about, going with the Ace of Spades being about the mind, could be this idea of like, you know, I'm feeling this. As a result of this situation, I feel this, you know, kind of thing. Or, you know, I would like this in the context of this relationship, right? You're taking responsibility and ownership for your feelings in the situation. You're not blaming the other person and saying, as a result of something that you either did or didn't do, I feel this way as a result. You're taking ownership and responsibility of your feelings going into the conversation, right? So I always say it's like you want to use I statements rather than you statements, right? And then what happens is the person is more open and receptive more often than not to listen to what it is you want to say. But that is what I'm getting with the Six of Hearts. So now let's take a look at the card that's rounding out the line. And here we have, so here we have the Five of Diamonds, right? So again, we have this number 5 twice. So 5 is a number of change, but it's also about activity. If you want something to change, what would you be willing to do that's going to help foster that change, that's going to help create that change? So that's the first thing that I want to offer, because this card can represent a change in one's material circumstances, material conditions. So I'm seeing that, right? And here's the other thing too. Diamonds, which is the suit here, for me represents energy. And so what happens is, if you want a situation to change, maybe change the energy that you are bringing to it, right? Because you can't control what another person is going to do or not do, but you can always control you. So how can you change your energy in terms of maybe either how you are reacting, responding, or how you are choosing to approach the situation, right? So there is that to consider. Now, the other thing that I want to offer to the person who may be thinking like, okay, my mind's made up, I need to have a conversation with this other person about what this person did to me and how I feel as a result. this card is saying you could do that. It may be a gamble to do it, because I tend to look at the Five of Diamonds as a gambling card. So it could be saying too, like something that we are considering doing, it may be at some risk or gamble, right? So, but here's the thing, I'm looking at the image, and there is a man who looks like he's harvesting, or he's cutting the wheat or the harvest, right, but it looks like a woman's hair, right? So it could be a matter of clearing away, thinking, because I tend to look at hair as representative of thoughts, because hair grows out of our head. So it could be saying too, like maybe a change in thinking, like I said with the Five of Spades, and we're clearing that out, you know, clearing out the headspace kind of thing. We're getting rid of old, outdated, unnecessary and unwanted ideas and ways of thinking. So it could be that, you know, to consider. It could also be literally like somebody may be contemplating on changing their hairstyle. I'm just going to go with the real literal. So this could be about something physical and maybe needing to change their hairstyle. But I'm going to go more in line with maybe being willing to cut out or eliminate or release some sort of outdated ideas, beliefs, things of that nature. The only other thing that I want to say about this, it could just be a matter of too, is like if we're going to have a conversation this week, could just be a matter of making sure that you are either one or two things, either that you get to the point, playing on the idea that he's holding a sharp instrument, right? You either get to the point, or that you stay on point. Meaning, like, don't make the conversation about other things than what is really the central issue or the topic, right? So I'm seeing that. Again, the Five of Diamonds as the end card for me just represents this idea about, you know, wanting to clear the air, wanting to change something, but about putting the energy into it. You know, and so just consider, what's the energy that I want to put into this situation, especially if I want it to change. So on that note, I'm going to end this week's Oracle Outlook. I'm James Himm Mitchell, and as I close, I'd like to thank you for sharing space here with me for this week's reading, and I look forward to sharing the same space with you again in our next video reading together. So until then, I'm hoping that you have a wonderful day, and I'm hoping that you have a wonderful week. Take care.